G'day and welcome along to this week's edition of Simon's Kitchen Cook-Up. My name is Simon, of course, and today what we're going to do is we're going to have a fry-up. Now, since I've become plant-based eating, I have missed my fry-ups, which was your eggs and your bacon on toast on a Saturday or on a Sunday morning, along with your mushrooms and your tomatoes. So what I've done is I've actually substituted some of the nasties out, and we're going to create a fry-up today, which still consists of our mushrooms and our tomatoes, but instead of using scrambled eggs, we're going to scramble some tofu, and I'm going to show you how I do that. We're going to have that on toast as well. So you don't have to miss out on everything just because you've gone over to a plant-based lifestyle eating. So let me show you what I've got here. I've got my mushroom here. I've got a nice fresh tomato off the truss. I actually have some organic firm tofu, which I'll be using to create the scramble with, as well as some salt and some pepper and some turmeric. And the turmeric is for the colouring that we will be using to make the colour of the scrambled tofu itself, the mock scrambled eggs. And it will come up just fantastic, just like you would normally have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just by prepping the mushrooms and the tomatoes and get them underway, and then I'll start preparing the organic tofu to go along with it. So I'm just going to slice up my beautiful mushroom into nice strips. I like mushrooms, big field mushrooms myself. They do shrink, obviously, when you're cooking them, but I like to have nice, beautiful mushrooms for my breakfast. You can have any types of mushrooms that you wish if you like, but I like beautiful big mushrooms like this. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is do the tomato itself. So I'll just take the stem off the tomato, and I'm going to probably make these into quarters. Just cut into quarters themselves. Nice fresh tomatoes for the breakfast itself as well. Okay, so I'm going to get it on here. So all you need to do is just turn your little hot plate on. And one of the things you do with plant-based cooking is you don't generally cook with oil. So to fry up, I usually just pop a little bit of water, just a splash of water, just so it gets started into the bottom of the pan, and then it'll heat up nicely. And I can start by then putting in the mushrooms, getting them started, putting the tomatoes and getting them frying away. So that's done. So they'll take care of themselves now for the next 10 or so minutes, and I'll keep stirring them. I'll put some salt and pepper in with them as well to season them as they come along nicely as well there. So they'll take care of themselves. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this organic tofu, and this organic tofu is firm tofu. So we just use any type of tofu we can get that's on sale at the time, or something along those lines. It's supposed to be easy peel, but I've got wet fingers, so I'm going to take just a knife and just slice it into the tofu itself here. Okay. So the key to doing a tofu scramble is to try and get as much water out of the tofu as possible. Now you can do this a number of times. If you've got a tofu press, you can do that. Or you can just set a book on top of it, on top of the tofu. I generally just give it a little bit of a press. They say you're supposed to press it for about 20 minutes to get as much of it out of the tofu itself. But I tend to find that the tofu that I get is actually got not much water in it anyway. Obviously silken and firm semi-firm tofu does. So I'm only going to use a third of the block today because it goes a long way, and it's just me who's having the breakfast this morning. And it's as simple as just crumbling the tofu up. Now tofu is actually pre-cooked, so you don't actually need to cook it like you do with an egg. You just get it into the size that you want it to be. So that's the size that I like my scrambled egg, so that's the size I like my tofu when it's all scrambled up nicely as well. Just like that. And I'm only going to have one piece of toast today to go along with the meal, so that's probably enough tofu just as is already, but I'll cook the whole lot up. And the beauty of it is because it's pre-cooked, you just need to warm it through. You don't have to actually spend ages cooking your eggs. Not like eggs took ages to cook anyway, but I think that's enough. So I'll just pop that aside there, and you can pop that tofu in the fridge for later on. So the next thing you do is you just give it some salt and some pepper, just to season it. Let me just grab a spoon. Seems I've got wet fingers. Just a little bit of salt, not much. Just give it a bit of sea salt. A little bit of pepper. Nice cracks of pepper. I'm just going to turn these mushrooms over a little bit as well. And they're cooking up nicely. And mushrooms do release a little bit of moisture as they cook, so do the tomatoes. But what I might do is I might just turn them over so you can see they're getting a nice edge on them now, these mushrooms and tomatoes. I can turn them down a little bit. Add a splash more water, just to keep it moving. Lovely. So the key to make tofu work really well as a scramble is to add some turmeric. And I actually just add a splash of soy milk just to put a little bit of moisture in it. Just a little bit of moisture in it, just to start. And now what we do is we add some turmeric, and that gives it that colour, that original, that yellow egg colour that you have. And you don't have to have a lot of turmeric in there, because it takes up the colour a lot as it is. And now you can see it's starting to become a yellowy flavour, a yellowy colour. So let me just show you here. I'll put some more turmeric in. You see how it's almost looking like it's cooked scrambled eggs already. Doesn't take much. Beautiful, look at that. So that there is our tofu ready to go. And I'm just going to put a splash more soy in there, not much. I even might put a little bit more turmeric in there. And a little bit more of the pepper. Okay, so let's just mix that in nicely. So that there now, as you can see from the overhead camera, that is now pretty much a perfect looking little tofu scramble ready to be cooked up. I'm just going to give these mushrooms and these tomatoes another turn. And these are pretty much almost ready to go. I like a bit of bite in my mushrooms. I don't like them to be soggy and wet. I like them to be nicely cooked through, just like that. And I'm just going to add just a little bit more water, just to finish steaming them off. So I've got myself a nice plate here. So those mushrooms and those tomatoes are done for my liking here. Beautiful, just nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this heat down a lot, because the tofu's already cooked. You don't need it to be hot, you just need it to be low, just to warm the tofu through. That's the mushrooms and the tomatoes done, which is beautiful. Now I'm just going to grab a cloth, and I'm just going to give that cloth a brief wipe out. The pan brief wipe out, I should say, with the cloth. Okay. One pan show. In the meantime, I'm going to put a piece of toast on. There we go, toast is in. and we're ready for the tofu scramble to go in. And in the meantime here, what's happened is the tofu has sucked up all that soy. And that's the thing about tofu, is it will suck up whatever liquid you give it. And so I'm just going to add a little bit more soy milk in there just to give it a bit of a run. Because I don't cook in butter, I just add a little bit of soy there. And now I'm just going to give this little guy a stir through. And as I said, it just needs to be warm. It doesn't need to be hot. And actually I'm going to turn the heat off now because there's a fair bit of residual energy inside that frying pan already. And that's it, that's done. Look at that. Look at that. You wouldn't even know that that wasn't scrambled eggs, hey? And my toast is almost ready to go along with my beautiful tofu. So I'll grab that piece of toast out of the toaster. It should be right. Here it is. Pop the tofu on the top. Pop my pan away. This isn't MasterChef, so I don't worry about the presentation too much. That's just going to be me. Bit of salt, pepper. For taste and seasoning. And you can serve that with a nice chutney or something along those lines. So there we go, tofu scramble with mushrooms and tomatoes. And you can enjoy that on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and not worry about missing out on your weekly family fry up. So I hope you enjoy. I'm going to enjoy this, and I'll put the recipe up with the show notes. And yeah, bon appetit. Look, I'm only new to YouTube, and I'm just a typical Aussie bloke who's just changing over from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet. So if you liked this video, enjoyed this video, please maybe consider subscribing to the channel. Like it, share it with other friends who are considering coming over to be plant-based as well. It's a journey that I'm on, and I hope you enjoy the journey along with me. So check back every week, and hopefully I'll have a new recipe up every single week, every weekend at least. So enjoy. Thank you.